Pakistan's complicity and double standards vis-a-vis terrorism came to the fore during the second 2+2 ministerial dialogue between India and the US, when American Secretary of State Mike Pompeo categorically said that his country is determined to fight the global menace irrespective of its origin. The two sides extensively discussed the issue of security and assured each other of cooperation in fighting the threat of terrorism, a report. This week, the United States and India engaged into second ministerial level 2+2 dialogue, wherein they discussed the security threats in South Asia and the West in detail. US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, along with Defense Secretary Mark Esper, hosted their Indian counterparts, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar and the Defense Minister Rajnath Singh for the highest level dialogue in Washington. In a joint press conference after the meeting, US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo assured that Washington will take into account the terror threats to India from Pakistan and appreciated India's views on security threats in its region and around it.
We value India's perspective on security in the Indo-Pacific and, frankly, all around the world.
The four leaders discussed issues ranging from trade to security. Rajnath Singh, India's defense minister, hit out at Pakistan in the press conference by condemning the extreme rhetoric and belligerent statements being spread out about India by Pakistan. While terming it as rightful concern, the two American leaders seconded India's worries about terrorism emanating from its hostile neighbor in the West.
During the meeting, we shared our assessments of the situation in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, and the Indian Ocean region in general. We conveyed that the extreme rhetoric and belligerent statements and incitements to anti-India violence by Pakistani leaders is not conducive to peace.
Reflecting on US and India's common views on the origin and source of terrorism, Indian External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar spoke about threats caused by cross-border terrorism and acknowledged Mike Pompeo's sentiments over recently observed anniversary of 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks. He also mentioned that India and America are working closely at Financial Action Task Force to facilitate the terror funding watchdog in identifying and putting curbs on nations indulged in terror funding.
Our counter-terrorism effort was also discussed at today's meeting, and these have been boosted by a growing consensus on the nature of terror threats in the region and the dangers of cross-border terrorism and sanctuaries. I appreciate very much the sentiments expressed by Secretary Pompeo on the 11th anniversary of the 26/11 Mumbai attack. We discussed ways to address these challenges, including by working closely together at the FATF. We also took note of exchanges between our judicial academies for appreciation of challenges and evolving practices in adjudicating counter-terrorism cases and agreed to further facilitate such exchanges in the areas of criminal jurisprudence.
India and the United States, two of the largest democracies across the world, have seen the worst side of violence when it comes to facing the wrath of radical Islamic terrorism. Post 9/11 and 26/11 terror attacks, the two sides have been broadly involved in discussing strategies to put pressure on Pakistan for launching effective counter-terrorism measures.